They say time heals all wounds, but some scars run too deep. At first, I thought I was free. I thought I had escaped. But the past has a way of creeping back, louder, angrier, more desperate than before. I never imagined it would come to this: midnight visits, public confrontations, my son waking up in tears. But when love turns to obsession, when a father turns into a stranger, the only choice left is to fight. Not for myself, but for my child. This is our story. A story of survival. A story of letting go. The fracturing of trust. The before, a fragile facade of normalcy. I remember the day so clearly, the sun warm on our skin, laughter rising over the waves. It was my son's 3rd birthday, and we spent it at the beach, chasing him through the sand. My husband held me close, kissed my temple, whispered, "Perfect, isn't it?" I thought it was. But even then, cracks were forming beneath the surface. Late nights at the office. His phone screen lighting up at odd hours. A quiet shift in the way he touched me, less tender, more absent. I should have noticed sooner. There was a moment, a fleeting one, that should have told me everything. A school event. Parents gathered in the auditorium, cameras ready. And then, her. A woman standing at the back, watching my husband. She smiled at me, polite, harmless. But something about the way she looked at him made my stomach twist. I dismissed it. I shouldn't have. The betrayal: he took our son. The day he left, I came home to a half-empty house. No tiny sneakers by the door. No scattered toys in the living room. The silence was suffocating. And then I saw it, a note on the kitchen counter. 5 words that shattered everything: "I'm sorry. We need space." I called him. Again and again. No answer. Panic turned to rage, then to fear. By the time I found a lawyer, he had already filed for custody. Unstable, he called me. Unfit. He had the money, the lawyers, the carefully crafted story that painted me as the villain. And her. She was there too. Stepping into my son's life, slipping into the spaces I used to fill. Then, one day, a message arrived, a photo of my son curled up in her arms. He called me "Mommy" today. The ground beneath me crumbled. The freefall, divorce and erasure. The town turned against me. Whispers followed me in grocery aisles, at the coffee shop. "Did you hear? She lost custody. Must be a reason." Friends who once stood by me stopped calling. I was no longer a wife. No longer a mother. Just a woman left behind. One day, I stood in a pawn shop, wedding ring resting in my palm. The man behind the counter barely looked at me as he waited, muttered a price. I let it go without a word. And then, the final blow. The courtroom was cold, the air heavy with judgment. My husband barely looked at me as the judge ruled in his favor. His words cut deeper than the verdict itself. "You're not fit to raise him." I couldn't breathe. The ashes. That night, I held a lighter to the photo, the one from the beach, from before. Flames curled the edges, devouring the past. My son's smile disappeared first. Then mine. Only his remained. I let the ashes slip through my fingers, whispering to the wind. "You took my family. What's left of me to take?" Rebuilding and moving forward. The glimmer of hope, a new beginning. The first time I laughed after the divorce, I didn't recognize the sound. It startled me, like a song I had forgotten the lyrics to. It happened in a bookstore of all places. I was reaching for a book when another hand brushed mine. "Sorry," he said, flashing an apologetic smile. His eyes lingered just long enough to make me feel seen. I wasn't ready, not really. But somehow, he became a constant, a quiet presence, never pushing, always patient. When he finally asked me to marry him, it wasn't a grand gesture. No flash, no spectacle. Just the two of us, his hands warm in mine. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." For the first time in a long time, I believed him. The wedding, a bittersweet celebration. Happiness felt strange, like a borrowed dress that didn't quite fit. The ceremony was small, just close friends and family. My son stood beside me, adjusting his tiny suit with nervous hands. "Do I have to call him Dad?" he whispered. "Only if you want to." He nodded but didn't look convinced. My ex wasn't there, but he made his presence known. A last-minute custody dispute, a string of passive-aggressive messages. "Enjoy it while it lasts." I almost let his words ruin the day. Almost. But when I looked at my son, at the man beside me, at the love surrounding us, I chose to hold on to the joy instead. Co-parenting in the aftermath. At first, co-parenting was a battlefield. Missed pickups. Cancelled weekends. Excuses wrapped in legal jargon. "He doesn't want to come this time. I'm just respecting his wishes." Then, the whispers began. My son would come home with questions. "Why did you leave us? Do you love your new husband more than Dad?" I knew where they came from. I also knew arguing would only make things worse. And then there was her. She was at every exchange, standing by his side like she belonged there. "I packed an extra sweater for him," she said once, smiling like a benevolent queen. I wanted to rip it from her hands. Instead, I smiled back, my voice calm. "Thank you, but I've got it covered. I wouldn't let them erase me." The ex's unraveling begins. It started small. Missed calls turned into angry voicemails. Custody exchanges became tense, his temper barely restrained. Then, one evening, he snapped. "You turned him against me," he shouted, face red with rage. "You stole my life." For the first time, I saw it, the unraveling. The desperation. The fear. "I would never do that," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But I won't let you hurt him either." His hands clenched into fists, his whole body shaking. "You think you've won?" I didn't answer. Because this wasn't about winning. This was about survival. A fragile peace. That night, I tucked my son into bed. He looked up at me, eyes filled with a question he didn't know how to ask. So I answered it for him. "No matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." He nodded, curling into his pillow. As I left his room, I glanced down at my wedding ring. A symbol of everything I had lost. And everything I was learning to rebuild. Hope and fear, intertwined. The unraveling and consequences. The descent into chaos. The first time he showed up at our door at 3 a.m., I thought it was a nightmare. His fists pounded against the wood, his voice raw with desperation. "He's mine. You can't keep him from me." I stood frozen, my heart hammering. The man I once knew, calm, composed, was gone. What stood outside was someone unrecognizable, unraveling before my eyes. Then came the texts. Pages of them, erratic and disjointed. "You ruined my life. He should be with me. You'll regret this." Even she left him. The woman who had once taken my place. One day, she just disappeared, leaving him alone with his bitterness. And that's when things got worse. A public confrontation. His voice rising above the crowd. "You took everything from me." Eyes turned, whispers followed. I wanted to scream back. Tell him that he was the one who left. That he was the one who destroyed us. But I didn't. I just walked away. Because some battles aren't worth fighting. The impact on the child. Then, my son started having nightmares. He'd wake up crying, clutching his blanket like a lifeline. Why is Dad so angry? Did I do something wrong? How do you explain to a child that love can turn into something ugly? That sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most? He started acting out at school. Withdrawn one moment, angry the next. The weight of a war he never asked to be part of pressing down on his little shoulders. And I blamed myself. Had I done the right thing? Had I made the right choices? Or had I just passed my pain on to him? The ex's final act. Then came the day I feared the most. A phone call from the school. Your ex-husband was here. He tried to take your son. My stomach dropped. I was already running before I even knew where my feet were taking me. By the time I got there, it was over. Security had intervened. The police had been called. My son was safe. But the moment I saw him, trembling in the principal's office, eyes red from crying, something inside me snapped. Enough. This wasn't about old wounds or broken hearts anymore. This was about protecting my child. Rebuilding again. The court order came quickly. Restraining orders. Supervised visits. But the damage had already been done. Therapy became our new routine. My son, hesitant at first, slowly started to open up. His laughter returned, piece by piece, like a puzzle we were carefully putting back together. And my husband, my real husband, stood beside us through it all. He never tried to replace what was lost, only to help us build something new. A family. A different kind. But a family nonetheless. Letting go. Weeks later, I found myself standing outside a cold, gray building. I wasn't sure why I came. Maybe closure. Maybe guilt. Maybe something I couldn't name. He looked smaller somehow, sitting on the other side of the glass. The rage was gone, replaced by something hollow. I slid a photo across the table. A picture of our son, smiling, happy. I forgive you, I said. Not for you, but for me. For us. His eyes flickered with something, regret, maybe. But I didn't stay to find out. As I walked away, for the first time in years, I felt the weight of the past begin to lift. And I didn't look back.